A chaotic clash. Police arresting anti-ICE protesters after they mobbed a New York City hospital Saturday night. But of course, Mayor Zohran Mamdani not missing a chance to go after the immigration agency.
So after mobs assaulted a hospital where a fugitive was being looked after, New York's mayor ignited something, and we're now seeing hordes of agitators roaming the city, altercating with everyone and everything they don't like, whether it's ICE, the police, you name it. But this hasn't gone unnoticed by America's border czar, and he says New York better get ready for something big.
Show your hands! Manos arriba!
All I'll say to Mr. Holman is that Donald Trump himself said he would not send a surge of ICE agents to the state of New York unless I ask. I'm not asking.
Well, Governor Hochul, I'm not asking either.
These kinds of actions, they are the actions of a reckless agency that is operating with impunity, one that deserves to be abolished, frankly, and that they do nothing to actually serve public interest.
It gets worse. Those protesters, they were literally blocking emergency exits and entrances.
If we're talking about the prospect of ICE coming here, we have to ensure New Yorkers actually know their rights. New Yorkers know what it means to be a sanctuary city.
The bottom line, mass deportation, what they're going to get. We're going to flood the zone in New York because we have to. We've already arrested over 6,100 illegal alien criminals and taken them off the streets of New York.
So New York's governor is putting the entire state on red alert. Look at that. But while proponents of sanctuaries love to defend them, saying immigration is not my problem because that's a federal thing, there's zero proof these are good for America at all. And because these places won't turn over federal fugitives if they arrest that person, sanctuaries are by default the safest locations. Those who commit crime can set up shop if they're here illegally. Plus, our revolving door justice system protects all of our criminals, and it's gonna make sure they stay on the streets instead of behind bars, as they build up rap sheets that will make your head spin. On top of that, New York is now loaded with a critical mass of people who hate the American way of life. They hate capitalism. They think other people's money should be their money. They're actively voting for it, and everybody here wants a wide open border now. And here's the problem with that. A sanctuary cannot exist both for the benefit of the country it's in and those who are illegally inside that country at the exact same time. And when you add to that the idea that New York needs more and more tax money to fund programs that are for every single resident, regardless of their status, by default, those legally working and paying taxes while dealing with New York's never-ending unaffordability are gonna be the ones who end up paying for everything. And that brings us to the real reason the border czar says a surge is coming to New York. Sanctuary cities, they're not helping out with the affordability thing. They're also not helping out with the crime thing. They are a magnet for criminals all over the country to come to places like this because they could set up shop here in a way that they can't anywhere else. Yet crime and affordability are two things the politicians here love to talk about, but so far just keep making worse. Take, for example, the idea of frozen rents. If you're not also gonna freeze taxes and mortgages for landlords, pretty soon you're not gonna have any more landlords. At the same time, loading our justice system with even more non-jail solutions to crime just means criminals now have less of an excuse to not do the thing that's destroying our city from within, while jacking up the cost of everything people pay for, like the ice cream in this locked freezer. And as you walk down the street and you see the empty plots of land that should be apartment buildings but aren't for some reason, it starts to become pretty clear that New York City's problems, its crime problems, its affordability problems, all of these are self-inflicted by a thought process that does not work. Speaking of which...
And this person that these protesters, or quote-unquote protesters, were trying to protect, he had a prior, I think, arrest or conviction for assault and tried to run over the ICE agents, and this is a person that they're trying to protect. It's really shameful. Mamdani's shameful.
Yeah, that was not an ICE raid. ICE was at a hospital, yes, but the hospital was raided by the mob who was hunting them down. Sometimes Sometimes when making an arrest, ICE agents or the fugitive they've apprehended need to be checked out. This patient was discharged, they were fine, healthy, and ICE was in the process of leaving when the mob surrounded the hospital, raided it, trashed the street outside, and attacked police officers. And even though these mobs and the mayor they voted for have it backwards, ICE really does help public safety by getting somebody who's dangerous off the streets. That doesn't matter to people who've decided to believe things that are not true. Watch this.
A video shows the encounter between ICE agents and a man in the Bronx. Braulio Escoboza, who works at this barbershop nearby, tells me he saw it all. When he came out of his business, he says he recognized the man on the ground, who's been part of their community for years. The incident happened on Wednesday along Hull Avenue, close to East Gun Hill Road, in the Norwood section of the Bronx. The man, identified as Jerry Concepcion, just turned 20 years old. He was born and raised in the United States, according to his family.
So why is he running from the immigration police? What on earth could the immigration police do to somebody who's born and raised in the United States? Nothing. This is like not even a case immigration police should be involved in, unless, of course, they're looking for someone and they ask you to stop and you immediately run away. Like, who runs away from law enforcement and doesn't expect law enforcement to try and do something about that? This is a bad situation. It's tragic. And if you can be raised in the United States and believe that law enforcement is your enemy, there's a real problem. Whoever's teaching people that is on the wrong side of history. And as you watch this tape, you can see that this individual immediately started running. And if ICE is out there trying to identify somebody who could be a public safety threat, and they're not allowed in the New York City jails because we're a sanctuary city, they got to do this job on the street. And if people identify themselves, they don't have to be taken into custody. They weren't even arrested either. They were handcuffed, yes, identified, and let go. That was all that needed to happen. Just show your ID and it's over. But there are some people who say that the ideas in people's heads come from their elected officials.
We just received word that Tom Homan made some comments at a speech he's giving, saying that he is sending in a surge of ICE agents to the state of New York. Should we have the if this legislature passes what I introduced in January, known as local cops, local crimes. The premise behind this is simple, that local law enforcement is there for one purpose, that is to help protect our communities.
Local cops, local crimes. If that passes, apparently the border czar says there's going to be more ICE agents here, not less. Now, why is that? Well, you see, the governor of our state is in a tough position. She's trapped between a Mamdani and a hard place, but she's out here criticizing the border czar because of this new law, which looks like it's going to pass. And once it does, it's going to ban the federal government from using city property or state jails in any capacity to do their job. Now, ICE is already banned from doing their job inside New York City jails because this is a sanctuary city. But there are other parts of the state that cooperate. This is going to be a statewide ban. Furthermore, this law is going to remove all protections from federal agents when they do their jobs and is going to allow the radicals on the streets to sue them for quote unquote constitutional violations, which we're told happen every single time ICE is spotted by anybody in New York City. And the lies people believe about law and order, the border, and immigration in general are about to become law here, which is what the borders are so upset about.
Tom, she says she's not asking, so essentially, butt out.
Well, Governor Hochul, I'm not asking either. I said it, we're going to do it. No, she wants to sign legislation. She supports this legislation. It's going to lock us out of jails. It's going to end 287G agreements. And it's going to prevent us from arresting a criminal alien in the safety and security of a jail. We have partnerships in New York, throughout the state.
Yep.
Not everywhere, but she wants to end the partnerships we currently have, which means now we got to send a whole team to look for a criminal that we could have arrested in the safety and security of a jail.
And now they've got to go on the streets, into neighborhoods, in front of barbershops, and do the one thing that everybody here says is bad news. Now, this, to the people who do not like ICE, is exactly what they want. They want to force this agency to go out onto the streets and to do their job in public instead of in a jail where the criminal is already located. And the reason they want to do that is because they want people to hate the federal government. They think they can use this as momentum to steal the country back from the president who was just voted into office. But at the same time, criminals all over the place roaming the streets, that's bad news. That's a public safety nightmare. Something's got to be done about that. You can't put the whole country at risk with sanctuary cities that tell criminals that if they can just get across the border one more time, there is financial reward and the prospect of further criminal opportunity on the horizon. You can't do that. That's bad for all of America, and it puts every area of the country at risk, not just these sanctuaries. At the same time, this is an election year, and the people you see, the mobs on the streets of New York, they very well may decide who becomes the next governor of this state, and the governor is very well aware of that, which is why I mentioned that she's trapped. She kind of has no choice here, even if she very well believes everything she's standing behind and sponsoring. But the border czar says if this law passes, it's gonna be the worst thing for the sanctuary status of New York that the city could ever imagine.
It's safer for the officers, safer for the aliens, certainly safer for the community. So you're forcing us into the neighborhoods to find this person, which means since we lost the efficiencies of the jails that you want to lock us out of, now we got to send a whole team out there to find this person. So of course we're going to increase manpower a lot. And not only that, she says she wants to protect the migrant communities. Really? Because now we arrest an illegal alien. We can't rent a bed from any of the sheriffs in New York State. So what are we going to do? We're going to arrest that illegal alien. We're going to fly them to Texas, Arizona, to one of our detention facilities there, away from their families, away from their attorneys. This is what we have to do because she forces in this position. And
so they're forcing ICE to separate families, and then they're going to get out there and they're going to say, ICE is separating families. They arrested a member of our community and they flew him halfway across the country. How terrible. Meanwhile, that never had to happen, but it looks like it's going to happen. And the interesting thing about this is it could be good politically for the people in this state who want to make problems for the federal government, want to be a sanctuary city, and want to talk about how lawless the Trump administration is, knowing that the voters here are going to respond to that and are going to get all excited to go and elect these people. And at the exact same time, the rest of America is watching this and saying, why do we have places in the country where federal laws don't apply? Why do we have a two-tiered justice system? That's what this is. How come people are allowed to break the law in one part of the country and destroy the country if they live over here? This is just crazy. This is a bad situation. This is bad for every single person, no matter where they live, which is gonna almost motivate people to vote against this if they don't live here and they look at this and they understand what's going on, and just what a problem it is for national security, homeland security, affordability, you name it.
They're going to push it. And I think, Tom, they want to create another summer of love situation with more protests, get people hopped up in the streets, and see if they can roll this right into the midterms. That's what I think this is all about in the end.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you know what? You're going to have all these mobs on the streets. You're going to have speeches by local leaders that say, we've got the momentum. We're going to take this country back. We're going to stop Trump, and this is the year that we do it. They think they're going to accomplish this with outrage for border policies that the country overwhelmingly voted for and support. But what does the border czar think about this?
Well, we're going to enforce the law regardless. And, you know, she wants to put fear in the migrant community. She wants to get American people to turn against ICE because she talks about stay out of the churches, stay out of the hospitals, stay out of the schools. I want her to give me one example. I want one example anywhere throughout the United States since President Trump's been in the Oval Office. Give me one example anywhere where ICE has arrested somebody in a hospital, where ICE has arrested somebody in elementary school, where ICE has arrested somebody in church.
You know something? There's people watching this who say if there's a church in New York City and that church is a base for federal fugitives and it's harboring them, perhaps ICE should have to go in there and enforce the law. Why should a place that bills itself as a religious institution be allowed to engage with and help harbor criminals from the federal government? There's people who are watching this and are going to say, you know what? We know that there is so much lawlessness in these sanctuaries. We want ICE to go further. And this is that duality that I'm talking about here. In New York, the outrage machine, that's what this is designed for. But in the rest of the country, people are watching this and they're saying, you know, this just shouldn't be allowed. Breaking the law is breaking the law. It doesn't matter where it happens.
Island. You can't square that and end our partnerships on 287G with some of the biggest jails in that state.
That's the jail
CNN
policy.
correspondents are now saying that ICE is changing its approach, Tom. Watch.
Oh, yeah?
We are seeing less of those sweeping raids that we saw last year and more of that targeted, quiet approach to immigration enforcement. But of course, that doesn't mean that it's only public safety and national security threats that are being detained. It is also a lot of others who don't have criminal history.
I love the idea of criminal history. This is always brought up as a reason to say that, oh, what ICE is doing is against the law because they're arresting people that may not have a criminal history. Well, guess what? If you've got a gang and they're all on security camera and they're robbing a bodega and they're stealing money from the cash register and they're stealing the valuables of the people who work there and these people haven't been arrested yet, they're criminals. They just don't have a criminal history yet because they have not been convicted of that crime. And at the exact same time, it's federal law that says this. The Lake and Riley Act says that if somebody is in the country illegally and they are accused of committing a crime or charged with a crime, they have to be taken into federal custody. And there's nothing illegal about that because it's federal law. That
innocent people now are being targeted, but more quietly.
That's not true at all. It's a lie.
The bottom line, mass deportation, what they're going to get. I talk to Mark Wayne Mullen every day. We have a strategy. Numbers are down slightly because the government was shut down. DHS was shut down. The officers are getting paid, but people do the targeting. The smart people who run these databases help us target where to find people that want to be found. That's all been unpaid. But look, I've been working very closely with Mark Wayne Mullen. We got a strategy. New York's going to be one of them. Look, and we're going to flood the zone in New York. We have to. We have to arrest criminal public safety threats.
Right? How do you do that? How do you say that, okay, there's an area of the country where a criminal public safety threat can go, and if they go there, hey, we're not going to touch them. We might go after them if we're in Florida. We might go after them if they're in Texas because we've got the cooperation of the local police over there. But in New York, they really don't like us. So if criminals want to go there, that's okay. We're just going to let that happen. No, that's a terrible idea. That's a nightmare for national security because if you have areas of the country where criminals are allowed to set up shop, that tells criminals who aren't in the country yet or who might be running some sort of cross-border operation that, hey, if we could just get inside, we got our infrastructure over here, we got our infrastructure over here. Like, just think of what an asset that is to cartels and these organizations that have no place in America and do not make our country better and are the ones that were making $13 billion a year when the border was wide open. Why do we want to support countries like that, which then take all the money that they make and make things worse in America and make things worse in their home countries, like in Mexico, for example? This is all a disaster, and it's crazy that sanctuary cities think they're on the right side of that disaster.
Which is safer for the officers, safer for the aliens, certainly safer for the community. So you're forcing us into the neighborhoods to find this person, which means since we lost the efficiencies of the jails that you want to lock us out of, now we got to send whole team out there to find this person. So of course we're going to increase manpower a lot. And not only that, she says she wants to protect the migrant communities. Really? Because now we arrest an illegal alien. We can't rent a bed from any of the sheriffs in New York State. So what are we going to do? We're going to arrest that illegal alien. We're going to fly them to Texas, Arizona, to one of the detention facilities there, away from their families, away from their attorneys. This is what we have to do because she forces in this position. And
so he says that this is not the federal government being mean to New York. What he's saying is that, look, we have to go and arrest people that are dangerous. We have to go looking for them. And, you can go to the ICE worst of the worst list. You can see some of the people that they're arresting. These are not people that anybody would want to live next to in a tiny New York apartment and have this person right across the hall. And you know what? If law enforcement gives up, it's no longer law enforcement. It's not. It's just some agency that's not doing its job and isn't enforcing the law at all because that's the primary reason that they exist. We cannot have areas of the country where law enforcement's off the table. Can't have parts of the country that are home bases for these criminal organizations. And we can't have places that help these criminals in any way and want to hide them and tell them that it's okay to live here. Oh yeah, federal law doesn't apply. Just come on over here, you'll be safe, we'll protect you. I mean, what an absolute disaster that is. What do you think about that? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.